It's our first show of the season.
It's actually our 10th season.
Well, that calls for cake.
Join us next on Garden Time. Welcome to Garden Time, and yes, it really is the first episode of our 10th season.
We're here with Jan McNeilin, and later in the show we're going to talk about this early spring and what we should be worried about and what we shouldn't be worried about.
We're also going to be showing you how you can start your seeds indoors.
We'll also be showing you spring care for your trees.
But coming up first, dividing dahlias.
I'm visiting Nick at Swan Island Dahlias, and Nick, usually we're here and there's beautiful dahlias, but really in late winter, early spring, there's a little bit of work to do to get those beautiful flowers later in the season.
Right. Sometimes people store their tubers in a full clump form all winter, and now it's time to divide them. You can divide them in the fall, but most people do it in the springtime.
Right.
These tubers here have been stored, in cold storage here for a few months now, so they're really pretty dormant. So it's a hard time to see the eyes. But if you look really closely, you can find eyes on here, and here, and here, and here. They'll be more prevalent when your area warms up in the spring, your storage area. You can go back and maybe find them at the end of March or 1st of April, and you'll see inch sprouts on them, and that's when people do most of their dividing because it's easy to see.
Right. But a lot of people, like me included, don't take them up in the fall. And
Right.
I left them in the ground, and so I want to start digging them. So when we dig them, should I just bring them in and start dividing them, or should I clean them off? What should we do once we start digging them? And how do you not chop into this while I'm digging them?
Right, you have to be very careful with it. You can see how wide they are. You have to use a fork around the outsides and loosen up and carefully pull them up. A lot of times you can grab a hold of the stalk and have somebody work with a fork, and two people on it actually works really, really good.
Sure.
But you have to be careful, and if you do break one or cut one in half, you haven't ruined it if you
Right.
have an eye on the end that you saved. If you're bringing them, digging them up from storage in the winter outside, you probably want to do that usually early April, mid-April, because you'll already see the sprouts on them because the warm soil is coming through.
Makes it easier.
And that way you can just hold them maybe for a week or so inside and then plant back when it's nice outside.
But this time of year, if I have time now. So I'm going to dig them up, and then I'm going to wash them off before I start looking at them?
To divide, you have to wash all the dirt, because most times you'll rinse it off and you'll think, oh, I got it. But if the dirt clumps on here, this is where your eyes are, and you'll never see them.
Right.
So you have to be really careful that you know where an eye is before you take them apart. So you never want to just rip them apart or break them apart, because you'll end up leaving the eyes on the stalk.
And not get any flowers.
And not getting any flowers.
Yeah, and that's really, I know that's what I learned from you guys, because I would have done that, because you would think, oh, here, this is going to be what I plant. But you really need to have that eye, that little bump. And so when you start cutting this apart, this is a beautiful clump, and we can cut this into different pieces to be viable for this year. So where do we want to start cutting?
Sometimes people will just cut the clump in half or 3 pieces and take it. But if you find, it's really easy right here on top, there's one, see these eyes right here?
Right, okay.
So you just cut this here.
Because you always want a piece attached.
Right, and then you have your eyes right there.
Okay.
And then this is, we usually just trim this back a little bit.
Okay.
But basically that's all you do. When you plant, you lay it flat.
All right.
Some people worry about standing them up or down, or actually if the eye's upside down, it'll turn around and come back up.
They figure it out,
So,
yeah. They're very smart.
So,
Let's do another one, just so that we can kind of show everybody where to
there's
make
an
that
eye
cut.
right there.
So that's an easy one, yeah. You just cut right around it. And using a sharp, clean knife, that's really important too.
right, so then you have your eyes, eye right there. There's a multiple amount of eyes right here.
Oh,
Boom,
sure,
boom, boom,
yeah.
boom. So you can just go in and cut this.
And so now we're in March, and so we're doing this, we're taking care of this part of the dividing, but really I can't go out and plant them. It's too early right now.
Yeah, so it's ideally you want to store them on a garage bench or somewhere, but not out in the sun and not in a lot of heat. You'd like to have these cuts cure overnight.
Okay.
And then you could box them up, put some peat moss on them or sawdust on them to hold them for a month, before you go to get them out to plant. But a lot of times people think, oh, I like tulips or daffodils, I got to dry them.
Right.
And dahlias are a tuber, and they're really don't have the skin to be able to be left out in the open. So you can't leave these for a week or two, or they'll end up shriveling up, and if you left them for a month or so, you might lose them.
Oh, wow.
So it's good to let the cuts cure, but don't leave them just laying out. It's good to cover them with sawdust or peat moss or something like that.
All right, and you know, on Swan Island website, you have all this information in videos. So really, if you need more of a tutorial, more of a how-to, you can go to the website, Swan Island Dahlia website, and find out more information and get your dahlias all ready for the season to have those beautiful flowers later in the summer. Thanks so much, Nick.
You bet. Thanks for coming out.
Locally grown, fresh from the farm, stylish and sustainable, your dream yard starts at Al's Garden Center. Brighten up your outdoor spaces with colorful, easy-to-grow pansies, now on sale for only 79 cents each. We've brought a huge variety in from the farm where we grow all of our plants with care, so you get the brightest, healthiest pansies available. Many colors to choose from, and they're on sale now. Al's Garden Centers in Woodburn, Sherwood, and Gresham.
Your garden is only as good as the ingredients you use. That's where Black Gold can help. Black Gold Seedling Mix is formulated for successful seed germination and strong seedling growth. Black Gold Seedling Mix is organic and OMRI listed, so you can start this year's organic garden outright. Look for Black Gold at your local garden center or go online to blackgold.bz. Black Gold, all the riches of the earth.
I am at a gem of a garden. I'm at Clackamas Community College, and we're at the Home Orchard Society Garden. And I'm with Tanya, and you are actually the manager here.
Correct.
And really, there's a proper name to this garden.
Yeah, so we're the Home Orchard Society's demonstration orchard.
And you take care of really over 500 fruiting trees and shrubs.
Correct, correct.
Wow. And so, but today we're going to talk about blueberries.
Yes.
And I think everybody should have blueberries in their garden. Really
Definitely.
delicious plant to have. We love the fruit and really pretty easy to take care of.
Yes, and so we're trying to do our pruning. As soon as we put them in the ground, we're going to start training our blueberries into a shape that's appropriate for our backyard.
Oh, okay. Now this is a pretty big one.
Yeah, so she's pretty mature. This is a berry called Blue Crop, a nice mid-season. Shouldn't be getting very much larger than this, but you can see some crossing branches and some dead wood in here. And I just want to promote new fruiting wood because that fruiting wood is going to be really good for about 4 to 6 years.
Oh, okay. So you're looking for older canes to take out,
Correct.
dead things from the winter time,
Yep.
crossing. So just a few different tools. So you're going to use a saw?
Yeah, so with a lot of these larger pieces of wood, we're using a saw.
Okay.
And so we want to, once they're mature, we want to take about 2 to 3 of the oldest canes out.
Okay.
We want to make sure that our tools are sterilized and that they're very sharp to make a nice clean cut.
And that's pretty
And
easy.
so that's one of them that's out.
All right. And really, that's going to open up for air circulation, sunlight to get into this plant.
Correct. And it's also going to help our berries to get to be the size that they need and want to
definitely,
be.
sure.
So we're going to sacrifice a little bit of fruit this year, but the fruit we're going to have remaining is going to be that much better.
You know, that's all really good tips for the blueberries. And you just want to go through, and at this point, you're only going to take out maybe 3 or 4
Yeah,
branches?
I'll take out about 3 of the oldest canes, and I see I have this nice young cane right here, which I'm going to maintain. It isn't going to have fruit on us this year, but this is going to be a really good fruiting cane in future years.
So really, when you are cutting, you are looking to the future. What's going to come up next?
Always.
Where's that growth going to be, so you kind of keep that balance of branches?
Yeah, definitely. And then we're also going to be looking for dead wood on the blueberries, and we're going to remove that. We can remove dead wood at any time of year.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty nice to know, because sometimes in the summertime people think, oh, I can't trim now because it's in the middle of summer, but really you could do that then too.
Correct. So I'm just taking these ones off because they're broken. So they'll eventually die off, but I'm just going to help this plant out a little bit.
Right.
Got some dead up here, and I'll just remove that because this is going to be a nice young cane. Hopefully I'll get a nice side shoot out of that.
Tanya, I know you have lots of classes for pruning, and so do you find that students are fearful of pruning?
Always. So all of my students are pretty fearful, and I make sure that I address that. And so what we're doing in our classes is trying to give people the confidence necessary to go out and prune their trees and bushes successfully.
And it's really one thing that you should look at the plant and kind of really study it, and then clip. I mean, it's kind of like when you're a carpenter,
Definitely,
you look at
definitely.
it twice and then you cut.
Oh yeah, because I'm always looking for where's my fruiting wood, where's my fruiting buds, and where are my vegetative buds. I don't want to, you know, cut off too many of my fruiting buds,
Right.
but I will sacrifice a few, like I said, for improvement of the remaining fruit.
Right. So this is March, and so any other things that we should be doing with our blueberries this time of year?
So blueberries like an acidic soil. They like a pH between 4.5 and 5.5. Same thing with azaleas and rhododendrons. A lot of times we can mulch our blueberry plants with pine needles that have fallen the previous fall. We do some ammonium sulfate, about a half a cup per plant per year. When they're nice and established. It's going to be a little bit less for younger plants. If you're missing a lot of vegetative growth, then you would add a little bit of nitrogen. If you want to produce more fruiting wood, then you would add a little bit of bone meal, which is going to be phosphorus.
The garden is a great place to come to see all the fruit trees and the shrubs. You can always go to the website too to see when the classes are and all the events. And Tanya's here sometimes. You can maybe see her on the weekends, or just go to the website and see what that schedule is. Thanks so much for all the tips. We're going to have beautiful plants this year.
Thank you for coming out.
For the tip of the week, we're talking about bringing hellebores inside to enjoy. We're enjoying them in the garden, but you know, usually the flowers are hanging down and they're pendulous, and you don't get to enjoy the beauty.
I found these beautiful doubles on the other side of the garden, Judy.
Well, we're going to bring these into the house and we'll show you how to display them. William, isn't this easy? You just get a very pretty bowl, fill it with water, and then float the hellebore blooms on top. And because they're floating in the water, they actually last longer.
It really is beautiful. Displaying hellebores indoors. That's our tip of the week.
Garden Time is brought to you by Capital Subaru, your way on the Parkway.
I've been a Capital Subaru customer for 15 years, and one of the main reasons is because they treat me well and I want to shop local. The service department is excellent, and I always feel like I'm taken care of here. In fact, they call me now even after I've driven off the lot to remind me to come in and get my car washed. That's service. One of the reasons why I like coming to Capital Subaru, actually, they have the dog area, and I can just walk my dog around the whole area and we can enjoy the outside. I got it my way on the Parkway.
Over the 30 years that our family has been in the nursery industry, we've learned that anyone can supply a customer with plants and garden supplies. But it's supplying those plants and supplies backed by a knowledgeable staff that can transform a garden and take it from ordinary to extraordinary. That's what we do at Sagawa Nursery. Why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? Sagawa Nursery, growing beyond the ordinary.
If you build it right. Build it to last. Don't just build it for yourself. Build it for the next generation. Build it with Par Lumber. And keep building the Great Northwest.
At French Prairie Perennials, we take pride in being different. From our rare, unique, and unusual plant material and handcrafted garden art to our visualscaping program, we can help you create an outdoor living space as unique as you are. Our gift shop has home and garden decor and gifts for all occasions. Visit our store in the heart of Oregon wine country, French Prairie Perennials, Dundee, Oregon. Outdoor living elevated.
So I'm standing here with Jan McNeil, and Jan, we wanted to have a conversation about this seemingly unseasonably warm weather, but it kind of happens every year almost, doesn't it?
It does, and I know that the weathermen are saying that it's the warmest February on record, et cetera, and it may be, but it isn't that much warmer. And we always have a false spring in early February that makes folks want to get out and do everything, which is good. We get our yards cleaned up, and then at least in the Portland area, it rains until June, and then we can garden.
So what is it that we should, like, if we have a freeze again, there's the possibility of things like fruit trees, if they're in blossom, getting damaged. What should we be concerned about?
Well, you can be concerned, but there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. This is a plum tree, a fruiting plum, and there's two varieties on here. One is in full bloom right now, and the other one isn't blooming yet. But there isn't much you're going to do. If we get really hard rains, when the pollen is out, you might not get very good pollination and not as much fruit. If we get a freeze, you might not get as much fruit. Likely, we're not going to get a freeze that's going to make a difference. But, and bees are starting to come out.
They are,
Mason bees and some of the bumblebees, and I haven't seen any honeybees yet, but they'll be out. And so even wind pollination will work for these trees. So, and even daffodils, you could see daffodils or tulips, especially daffodils, in solid ice and snow on them, and they melt and come out just fine.
So Jan, what can we, or what should we be doing at this time of year right now in this weather?
Well, you could do major cleanup, get the leaves off the gardens, etc. You could be pruning roses. You could be, don't prune things that flower in the spring. Wait till they're done flowering, and then you can prune those back. You can be, if you're going to plant any vegetables, you can look at cool season crops like lettuce and broccoli and peas and things like that, and you can be starting some seeds inside if you want. So there's things to do.
Still plenty to do.
To keep us out of trouble, but you really don't. We don't have any control over nature, and that's kind of why gardening's fun, because it's always different.
Yeah, it's always fun. So listen, we'll be back here in a couple of weeks with Jan. We'll get the full tips of the month for what we should be doing in this month. It's always fun to be out here, Jan. Thank you.
Alrighty, see you soon.
So we wanted to talk to you today about seed starting and how really pretty easy it is and convenient to get a jump on your vegetable gardens. So what we've done here is gathered up some different types of things. Now, there's all kinds of trays you can use to start seeds. We've actually used one of the trays, actually had plants in it last year, and it worked out perfect for individual seed starting compartments. You can buy ones that are, multiple compartments within a set. And you can even use old egg cartons like this one, which we've done, which is really simple to do as well. One of the biggest things you have to be aware of, though, when seed starting is the soil. A lot of us may be tempted to get some soil from the garden, and that's really not the best thing to do. The reason for that is it could have not only weed seeds and certain viruses, it could also have some insects that could do damage to those really tender new shoots that are starting out on the seeds. We opted with the Black Gold seedling mix. It's a great product, it's sterile, works really well. The only thing to remember is that sometimes in the bag it comes out a little dry, and you don't want to put seeds into dry mix. So we soaked this one just now before we put it in, so it's nicely moist.
So after you moisten the soil and you put it in your container, make sure that you also use a nice quality, a good quality seed, because that's really important too, just like your soil is a good quality soil. We've used Renee Garden seeds and also Nichols Garden Nursery seeds, which is a local company right here in Oregon. So I have some cucumber seeds here, and they're kind of big. Sometimes those seeds that you get in the packages aren't as big as this, but we've picked a really easy one. You want to just make a little hole, and we're just using a pencil to kind of make a hole. And I'm going to put the seed right there and just cover it up. And then I'm going to mist it just a little bit so that the soil is moistened. Now, a great tip is to read the back of the seed pack, because it'll give you all kinds of information about how deep to put the seed, also germination rate, germination time, and also how many weeks till maturity of the fruit. And after planting your seeds, don't forget to label them so that you know exactly what you have there.
So now you've got all the seeds planted, you're really excited, you're looking forward to what's going to happen. Now don't forget again, you want to mist them so that they have that consistent moisture for germination. Also, with a lot of different products that you can buy at different independent garden centers, some of them have domes which you can cover the trays with helps with keeping the moisture consistent. We opted not to do that, but if you don't do that, you want to also make sure that you place them somewhere where they have a lot of light, like a southern or western window with a good exposure, and there's not a lot of trees making shade there and stuff like that. Also heat, consistent heat is very, very important for seedlings. So, we opted to get a heating mat, which helps with that. And then you also want to be sure that you're aware of lighting. So sometimes if you just don't have those windows to put them under, you can buy great lighting systems that actually adjust as the seeds grow. Makes it really simple to keep an eye on how they're doing.
And the final step is transplanting these starts outside. But make sure that you look for the second set of leaves, the true leaves, which would look something like this on these tomato plants. And then they're ready to go outside. But you have to check the last frost date in your area. So if you have any other questions, go to gardentime.tv and we have a list of all the instructions to make you successful in seed starting.
Now, even though it's still a little too cold to plant these seeds directly in your gardens outdoors, you can certainly get a jump on your summer garden by starting seeds inside.
Garden Time is brought to you by Portland Nursery, a passion for plants, a nursery for plant people.
Hi, I'm Sarah from Portland Nursery, where spring is our favorite time of year. It's the time to prepare your garden for planting. We invite you to get a jump on spring with our huge selection. Let Portland Nursery's staff of professionals help with groceries you can grow. We've got the seeds, veggie starts, and expertise to ensure your success. Visit portlandnursery.com for a list of classes and special events. Portland Nursery, helping make your backyard your favorite destination at 50th and Stark and 90th and Division.
Clement Gander started Standard TV and Appliance in Southeast Portland in 1947 with price cuts on dozens of top brands in every category. Save up to $1,500 on washers and dryers, up to $1,000 on refrigerators, dishwashers, save up to $1,100, and huge savings on mattresses up to 80% off. Plus, Standard is fast delivery and certified in-home installation, so why wait? Hurry, Founders Days and Sunday. Standard TV and Appliance.
I'm standing in a beautiful yard, and I am here with Logan from Collier Arbor Care, which is a division of Bartlett. And Logan, we're going to be talking about, this time of year is great to look at trees, so let's talk about what we should be looking for and how we can identify things bad before they happen.
Mm-hmm. So this time of year, we're primarily looking for disease pathogens. So most trees do get hit year after year with diseases. And the insects aren't really a primary concern right now because they're mostly overwintering as eggs, and it's not hot enough for them to be active.
Well, I know that we have talked before about a thing that you call the triangle, and I always forget parts of it, so I'm going to depend on you. Yep. Tell me about that triangle and why we need to think about that.
So there's 3 parts to the triangle. So we first need a pathogen and a susceptible host and a suitable environment for that pathogen to infect that host.
So dumb it down for me a little bit. How would I understand that if I were just an average gardener out in my yard right now?
So for instance, for talking about the hosts, we first need a host that can be affected by a disease. So the ginkgo, which is actually a prehistoric tree, all of its diseases have died off, long ago. So there's no diseases left to infect that tree. And then the pathogen, typically most pathogens are fungal spores or bacteria or virus, and the spores are in the air, and they can travel substantial distances. And then for the suitable environment, most diseases do require a fairly wet, humid environment in order to infect.
The Northeast. I mean the Northwest here.
Our spring.
It's so true. So now behind us are a couple of cornus, beautiful dogwood trees, and these are the ones that are supposed to be, kind of immune to stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me about them, and what is the word that they use for them, and what does that really mean to a gardener?
Well, the Coosa dogwoods are resistant to the dogwood anthracnose because they have evolved with it, for their whole, life cycle of thousands of years. So resistant means that it's unlikely to be infected, but it still can be infected.
Sure. So it gives it like a vitamin punch to a baby that's young. There's a little extra strength there, but it doesn't mean it can't get it.
Yeah. So if these trees were heavily stressed, it wouldn't be surprising to find dogwood anthracnose on these.
But in a normal, healthy garden, everything is equal. Chances are pretty slim that they'll get it then.
Exactly.
Well, now, there's another place in the garden I want to go with you, a beautiful tree that isn't resistant but still looks great. I suspect it's because of y'all's care, but let's walk over there and take a look at that. So now we are standing in front of a tree that they think is over 100 years old. It's a fruiting plum tree, and you guys have been actually taking care of it for over a decade now.
Yes.
What is it that you do? Because this is not a resistant of any kind, is it?
No, it is a pretty old-fashioned cultivar.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing to it is we have done some fungicide treatments to it to suppress the brown blossom blight and the various shot hole blights that affect the leaves.
Because that shot hole virus gets a lot of trees in this family, doesn't it?
Well, there's actually 3 different kinds of shot hole blights. There's the fungal, the bacterial, and the viral. So the fungal and the bacterial we can do something about, but the viral, we're kind of stuck with that.
So as a homeowner, how do you know? Do you walk out to the garden and just look at it and see?
Well, first you do want to get a positive diagnosis.
Sure.
So with the foliar diseases, those do typically return year after year. And
so pay attention throughout the year. Okay, that makes sense.
And for this tree, we actually did get it diagnosed. So we did get a positive sample of brown blossom blight on this one.
So you don't just randomly guess at it. You actually have proof of what you're getting.
Yes.
Okay.
But typically we do rely on our top 20 list.
Sure.
So the top 20 diseases, as long as you kind of know those ones, you can diagnose, I'm going to say, 90% of your plant problems.
Well, Colliers has been in the Portland area for a really long time. And if you think, I think there's something wrong with the tree, I'm just not so sure what it is, you can go to gardentime.tv. We will click you over to their website, have them come out. They know what they're doing clearly by the example of this beauty. They'll take care of the problems in your yard. It is always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, William.
Thank you for joining us for our first show of the 10th season.
Now, as we heard today from Jan, let's not freak out over this unseasonably warm weather. Let's just get out and enjoy it.
If you have any other questions about today's show, please go to gardentime.tv.
Thanks for spending time with us today, and we look forward to doing it all again next week, right here on Garden Time.
Cheers. What are you looking for?
Judy, I'm looking for the Garden Time Subaru.
William, it's right behind us.
And you can find it too. It's as easy as going to gardentime.tv.
So click on gardentime.tv and click on the Subaru. Each month the Subaru will be in a different location. Give us your best guess and you could possibly win.
Each month, one lucky person will be chosen from all the correct answers. Prizes can include a gift card to a great nursery, some wonderful tools, or other sweet prizes.
So go to gardentime.tv and help us find the Subaru.
If you build it right. Build it to last. Don't just build it for yourself. Build it for the next generation. Build it with Par Lumber. And keep building the Great Northwest.
The proceeding was a paid program of the Guston Creative Group and its sponsors.